All right, we are live in the Redesign with Prima Facebook group. Let's see, let me get you a good angle there. My name is Cece with Cece Restyled. I'm a furniture artist in the Midwest, Indianapolis to be specific. And today we're working with some Redesign with Prima transfers and some impasto paints, which are a heavy body acrylic, to create a little fairy garden kind of scene on this. Hey Rozzy, let me show you my little cabinet here. So this is actually a china hutch. This is the bottom part. I wouldn't be able to reach the top part, so I'm doing them separate. But this is the bottom. I'm going to finish it first. So I took the doors off, obviously. I'm going to be painting those separately, sealing them and putting them back on. And then on this side and the other side, we're going to paint a little fairy garden type scene. And we're going to use flower decor transfers from Redesign with Prima, along with some like I said, the impasto paints, which are a Art Alchemy heavy body acrylic from Prima. And I like to use these for hand painting. They are pretty thick. They dry fairly quickly. But oh, you see my little skeleton in the background? That's my buddy. Say hey, skeleton. Say hey, skeleton. We're just gonna look. He wants to be on camera, so there's a little skeleton cameo. Give you a good little view there. Anyways, so we're going to be using these to hand paint some simple hand painted elements. So when I say hand painted, I'm doing something that you can do as well. Anybody can do it. If you can paint a shape, you may need a little bit of practice or to trace it, but anybody can paint a shape. You know, I'm going to do silhouettes of fairies, which is, you'll see how to do it, but you can definitely do it. So don't be scared off by the hand painting factor, okay? So, hey everyone, hope everybody is doing great on this Thursday, Throwback Thursday, Thirsty Thursday, whatever it is. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So I've got my painted surface here, okay? So freshly painted, no need to seal before a transfer, okay? So paint, let it dry. Sometimes, I usually let it dry to the touch. It's recommended to let it dry overnight. But I don't usually have that long, so when it's dry to the touch, I usually transfer and everything's good. But on freshly dried paint, no need to seal it before you do the transfer or anything like that. I've seen a lot of that circulating around lately. There's no need to seal before transfer. However, if you already sealed, you can apply your transfer. Just make sure that you let your sealer dry or cure completely first before you try to transfer on it. Wax, you want to let it cure for 30 days before you try to transfer on it. You can't transfer on freshly laid wax. It's just not going to stick. Doesn't stick. Doesn't stick. I learned that the hard way. So we're going to go ahead and start with our flower transfers. Now I've got a few here, and I've got some scraps because I like to save my scraps and use them to kind of fill in little areas where I feel like I need some more meat in my little floral chunks, clusters. So what I'm going to do is, can you see that comments are in the way, so I can't really see what you can see because the comments are kind of right there. So I'm going to do some flowers, some of florals right here, and a little cluster in the corner, and then I'm going to paint our fairy, and then we're going to maybe, I don't know, maybe the fairy is like holding a little stem of a flower or a leaf or somehow interacting with the flowers. She's going to be interacting with our transfers. So pretty fun. I've got, for the main parts of my floral clusters here, I've got lavender bush. I love this one. And I've got a little bit of ruby rose because it has that blue, that French blue that my client is looking for. So maybe little bits of yellow too to kind of go with the blue. So between those two transfers and then some scraps that I have, we're going to be able to make our little clusters happen and match with this design color scheme we got here going on. So I'm going to go ahead and start and do like my main chunk of flowers with ruby rose. So I'm going to just grab, let's see, I'm just going to grab what I think might match and fit this little corner right here. And let's see. Can you see? Can you see me? Okay. I'm digging the blues because they go with my paint colors. So I want to focus on using those blue flowers. And I like I like the yellows in small amounts, and then this kind of cream yellow, peachy color flower. I like that too. I think it goes really nicely. So I'm gonna cut that out because I know I want to use this cream colored flower here. I can't remember what these are called. Is it a hyacinth? Is this a hyacinth? I'm not sure. I'm not on the up and up on my florals. I'm not flower woke. All right, so I'm thinking maybe if I cut kind of along this blue flower and then I get some of this yellow in here. I don't know about that red guy. I might cut him out and then just bring my cut along here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this edge right here. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut, I'm gonna go ahead and figure out my edge here. So I'm gonna run my fingernail along the edge so I can cut that out and it will fit nicely. And then we'll go from there. So you can use a pin, or I like to use a Sharpie because this backing paper is pretty, or this transfer paper is pretty shiny, so I like to see, but just gently with a Sharpie, kind of figure out where I'm gonna cut. And you can kind of use your finger to feel the edges of this little inset area here on my piece. So we're gonna bring that line down to here. And then we're gonna bring this, let's see, I'm gonna cut around here. And then bring this over like this, boom. So let's cut that out first and make sure it fits, and we'll be in business. So I'm just using scissors to cut it out. You can use a paper cutter, an X-Acto knife, whatever is easiest for you. I'd be liking me some scissors though. Okay, so now we're gonna just place it again and make sure that we got our cuts fairly accurate, okay? Yes, say hi to my skeleton. Say hello to my little skeleton friend. Let's see, I got this bottom cut a little tiny bit not straight, so I'm just gonna trim like 1/16 of an inch off this little corner here. Boom. And let's see, let's check it again. There we go, and I think that's gonna work. So, like I said, I don't really wanna use this red flower in here. It's just a little too much for my piece. It doesn't really go with when I'm, the feel that I'm going after, which is blues and creams and sort of, well, okay, French country fairy tale type vibe. And if you saw the top of this hutch, you would totally get the French fairy tale vibe, okay? Because that's what this piece screams. It's a beautiful piece. I wish I could show you the top, but it's way over there. Okay, so there we go. Perfect. Those are the perfect colors that I want to use. We're going to start with that and start to create our shape here in the corner for our flower cluster. So let's go ahead and put that right, lightly line it up to where we want it, and then once we're sure it's lined up correctly, then we can just rub it all over with our palm to get it to start sticking or adhering. And then your transfers will come with this fancy little popsicle stick here you can use to rub the transfers on, okay? All over. Or you can choose to purchase a little handy dandy transfer tool here, a little plastic guy. There's a small end and a larger end. The little larger end has these little hooks on it for going around curves, bevels, creases, edges. It's pretty handy. So I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to rub all over my transfer, making sure I get, you know, my whole surface. I like to go up and down. Be careful not to scratch your paint. Sometimes I go over the edges with my fingernails so that I don't scratch my paint with the tool. Okay, up and down. Then I like to go side to side. And you need to use a little bit of pressure, okay? Be a little firm with it. Get your workout in for the day. Okay, once you're pretty sure that you got it nice and you know, you got it all over. Then you pick a corner and you want to peel up slowly. Slowly, because if your transfer is not sticking in a spot, then you can put your transfer paper back down and rub that spot and then try again. I try to be very gentle around the edges so I don't scratch my paint or, you know, whatever. And so sometimes they don't stick all that well the first go round. There we go. And we are rocking and rolling. Boom. Okay, so now that our transfer is on, I'm gonna slowly go around, or not necessarily slowly, but gently kind of go around the edges. And then with my finger, you can use your palm. You just want to make sure that you pop any bubbles or wrinkles, smooth out any wrinkles, pop any bubbles. Make sure it's nice and on there. Any bubbles or wrinkles could possibly cause issues later after you seal it. That air trapped underneath there could make your transfer fail and start to crack and peel, which happens most of the time when I see posts asking what happened. That's mostly the case, is that there was an air bubble or something trapped over underneath, and so your transfer peeled. And it doesn't happen right away. It'll take a few days, a week, whatever, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, what happened? It's been fine for a week. Air bubbles, wrinkles. All right, so it's on there. Let's go ahead and find a little spot for our, did we decide these are hydrangeas? What are these? I don't know. Deborah, I used in the navy on the bottom of this piece and vintage duck egg from Dixie Belle on this. I don't sand before I apply transfer. The only reason I would sand is if I was, you know, putting a transfer on raw wood or if I had brush strokes that I was trying to get rid of in my paint, which I don't typically, so that's the only reason I would sand. I like these little leaves here, so we're gonna have those kind of pointing outwards. This looks like a good spot for our little whatever hydrangea or hydrangea-esque looking flower here. So I'm going to crease that right kind of where I want to draw my line. And let's see, there we go. That's where I'm going to cut my transfer off. And I really like, you know, the flowers or whatever your transfer is that you're using, kind of spilling off the edge. A little, you know, coming in from the corners, spilling off the edge. It looks really, it looks nice in my opinion. I've seen people who just kind of plop them wherever they want and they don't really think about the edges really, and it's kind of like, okay, it looks like you didn't know where to put that, so you just put it there. So just really think about balance of your elements, you know, like visual weight. You don't want to have one side too heavy or one side not heavy enough. So there is quite a bit of planning and thinking involved in making it look like it was natural, you know, and you didn't, to make it look like there wasn't very much effort put into it, you got to put some effort into it. Okay, so I'm going to rub on back and forth. I like to do, like I said, I like to do the corners with my fingernail to be a little more precise so I don't scratch my paint. But if you're gentle, you can use your tool. Okay, now I'm going to go up and down. Okay, so let's pick a corner and peel up slowly. Looking good, looking good, looking good, looking good. Boom. Okay, we're good. So now I'm just going to make sure that I go over the edges with my finger, make sure they're all down and adhered. Kind of start to get rid of that halo, which isn't too big of a deal on this color. Some darker colors, the clear edges show a little bit more, but usually when you seal it, they disappear at least a good percentage. So, all right, so no bubbles, no wrinkles. Now we just got maybe one more little chunk of flowers to throw on there for some variation in color, and then we'll hand paint our little fairy. Okay, so I want to add a few more variations in color, so I'm gonna do lavender bush, which has these blues and pinks, and I'm just gonna pick a little chunk to kind of put right in here to fill up our flower cluster and make it a little more full. If you're just hopping on, thank you for doing so. If you have any questions I'm missing, I will try to catch them later, but yeah, I don't see any that I missed, but if I do miss some, I'll catch them later. So let's find us a little chunk of flowers that's going to be pretty right here in this little, so we want like kind of a medium-sized chunk. Let's go with, okay, I see what it is. So I'm going to use this chunk right here, okay? Right here. I don't use these words. I don't ever use these words. I think you can throw this part of the transfer on one big tall narrow piece if you want. I don't use these words. And I promised my friend Carly she could have my white flowers on here. So I'm going to cut off this little chunk like right here and kind of make it look like it fits and natural. Oh, that's a good idea, Trisha. Take a big chunk of the clear and put it over what you're rubbing on so it doesn't scratch your paint on the edges. That's pretty genius. I don't plan quite that well enough to save a big chunk of transfer sheet, but I'm sure I could find one around here kicking it. All right, I'm gonna cut off these words because I ain't gonna use them ever. But I will save them just in case. Scraps, you know. All right, so let's see. We're gonna go ahead and cut out. This is one of those transfers where the backing paper doesn't stick too well to the actual graphic. So you gotta be really careful it doesn't, you know, roll up on itself or whatever, and then you ruined your transfer. So just be careful. Be more careful than I'm being. I'm not a very gentle person. Physically, you know, like I get in there and get dirty, get my hands dirty. See my transfer's rolling up on itself. Ah, come on. All right, boom. All right, so I got to cut off this little white flower for my friend Carly here. She wants some white flowers. I'm gonna cut that off and just cut it like this, and she can cut it out however she wants it later. So I'm gonna put that over here for her. Boom. Okay, now. So we're left with this. Now, what do we want to do? What do we want to add? Let's see how it's going to fit right in our little cluster here. I know I don't want these little leafy fronds or whatever the heck they are. Sorry. Whatever the heck they are, I don't want those. Not a fan, and I like leaves. Leaves. I don't want fronds. Not for this project. I'm going to cut those guys off. Bah. All right, so let's see how it looks right here. Right in the middle where we wanted it. And it fits right. Oh, let's see. Let's do it right in the middle and see what that, well, maybe over here. So it takes up a good chunk of our cluster here. What do you think? It's either this or I cut off that rose. I say let's just run with it. We're gonna have a fairy right here anyway, so she's gonna cover part of those flowers. So let's go ahead and peel off our backing paper carefully. Make sure our transfer is sticking to the correct side of the, should be sticking to your clear sheet, not the backing paper, which is white. Okay, so let's gently kind of line her up. We want to kind of, oh, let's do it kind of, we want closer over here. Let's do right here. That looks, right here. And boom. There, we committed to a location. So rub it on, boom, 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 boom. And let's find our little transfer tool here. Rubbing up and down. All over. Firm pressure. This is a time to really use those muscles that you got. So up and down, up and down. And side to side. Around the edges, boom. Ah, scratch that. It's okay. All right, now let's peel from one corner slowly, gently, and voila. All right, so there's our little flower cluster chunk that we're starting with. Go ahead and burnish with our palm that onto the other transfers. So we're layering, we're layering, we're layering. All right, now we're ready to paint our little fairy gal. So I have printed off some little silhouettes of fairies that I can kind of go off of. I've also, let's see, I think I got another one here. No, there's another fairy. I like her too. She's a little big though for what we're doing. Oh, that might work actually. She might work big on side. Let's do this one. Let's go big or go home, okay? All right, so first I'm gonna grab my pencil, and we're gonna draw our fairy on here, okay? So no, I don't need to seal the transfer before layering. I can layer all my transfers in one, session, and then seal them all together when they're done. So you saw we just applied our transfer. Now I'm gonna paint our fairy, and then I'm gonna seal that whole area, the transfer and the hand painted area, with clear coat and satin. After that dries, I'm gonna seal the whole thing in gator hide. So if you're just using most water-based sealers, you can just seal it. But when I'm using gator hide, I like to seal the transfer area first, okay? I don't like to take chances, okay? I don't like to work hard and then it get ruined for some reason I have no control over. So let's go ahead and start by, let's hold up our fairy drawing, okay? And we're just gonna trace, I kind of want her somewhere around in here. Well, maybe somewhere around in here. And then we can put her holding her fairy, or holding a little flower there or something. Or smelling a flower. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So let's just go ahead and start drawing our fairy. I don't like her hair like that either, so we're gonna do it a little bit differently. So we're gonna start with her face and just trace. Now there's a number of ways you can do this. If you're not good at tracing, I could cut this fairy out and make sort of like a template or reverse stencil. I could do that, or I could cut it out, like I said, make a reverse stencil, or I could get a little mini projector and I could project the image onto it, or I could print her out backwards and I could trace her with some graphite pencil or carbon, you know what I'm talking about, the, oh my gosh, charcoal, like a charcoal pencil, trace her on the paper and then rub her outline onto your surface. That's another way to do it. I'm just gonna draw it because why not? Okay, so there's her body, there's her little skirt. I'm not going to do the little balls on her end of her skirt. They remind me of like the Joker or the Jester or something like a Jester. I don't know, not a fairy. So I'm just going to go and draw her head. And instead of these crazy pigtails that want to do that, I'm going to do more of like a flowy kind of pigtail. So like, let's do more of like a curved flowy kind of pigtail there. And then here's one here. And remember, we're just gonna fill in the silhouette. So it's not really gonna be, you're not gonna see all the detail, but I do wanna draw what I can to get bearings for my shape and like her parts and things like that, so I know what I'm painting what. Okay, there's the back of her neck, and then she's kind of like flying, like Superman style. Her hands are out like that, and she's got a little thumb, just like Superman, like that. Then there's her back, come down like that, and the top of her skirt kind of comes up like this, boom. Then she's got some little triangles on the end of her skirt. Let's make her skirt kind of curl up like that. Okay, so there's her body. And let's see, she doesn't have another arm. I kind of want to give her another arm, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give her another arm that comes out like this, and it's going to go up. And if you want to do a specific picture, just, find a reference picture that fits what you're trying to do. This is an afterthought, so that's why I'm just kind of improvising with her little hand. She's gonna be holding a flower up and kind of smelling it, or putting it towards her nose or something, I don't know. So there's her other arm we're adding. And then now she just needs legs. So her little legs are kind of like down here, like ballerina-like legs. There's her calf. Foot's gonna fall off there, that's okay. It's kind of hard to see on these transfers, isn't it? My pencil lines. So her other leg is up in the air. Foot, and comes down like this. All right, there we go. So there's the shape of our fairy. Oh, we got to do our wings real quick. Let's do our wings. They're gonna come back like this. Oh, let's do some pretty like dramatic wings. So there's wing number 1. Let's kind of have it like curve like this. And then it can come down and do one of these. We want one wing, and then let's do the other wing like similar in shape. All right, how's that for the fairy wings? Should they come out? Dang it. I feel like they should come out a little bit more like this here. Go down there. There we go. So our wing will go in there. And that's where we'll start. We can always add details or more, you know, whatever, to her body or wings if we want to. But we're going to go ahead and keep on moving on. So moving along, we're going to do her wings in white with a little bit of light blue shading that kind of matches the cabinet portion a little bit. And then, does anybody else just have transfers on their floor scattered around constantly? It's like I'm always stepping over transfers all day long. Okay, so wings white with a little bit of blue to create some dimension, give them a little bit of, make them look a little more, you know, dimensional. Then we're going to do her body and her head and the rest of all that in black silhouette. And then we'll put a little flower in her hand. So she's like smelling the flower like that. Okay, so I've got my little palette. Let's see. I'm going to grab, let's see, this blue. It's called Manor Blue, Snow White, and Pitch Black. These are impasto paints from Art Alchemy, which is by Prima Marketing, part of the Finnabair line. And we're going to use these to paint our little fairy here. So I'm going to start with the wings so those can dry. And then we'll go over the wings with the blue just a little bit to give it a little bit of shading, okay? So let's get some blue and white real quick. I think what I have here might be dried up, so we're just gonna go right over it. And then let's see, for her wings, I'm gonna use like a, oh, here we go. About a 1/2 inch flat, kind of curvy, rounded edge, radius edge brush. Oh, and what the heck, for the blue, I'll use a very similar shape. I like these shapes. It softens the edges, makes a little less harsh edges. And then we'll start with those. We'll start with those real quick and see where we go. So like I said, this paint dries pretty quick, okay? So we're just gonna work in like small sections of the wing at a time. All right, so let's just go ahead and outline our wing with the white. And I want to make sure I cover up my pencil lines too. I don't want those showing necessarily. Okay, so we got our white, 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 we got our white. And bring that down. Now this impasto paint is a heavy body acrylic. So the reason why I like to use this on my hand painting elements is because since it's so thick, it leaves a little bit of texture. So you will see brush strokes. You will see, you know, whichever way you stroke your brush, you're going to see that. So I think it creates a little bit of texture and kind of helps the element look, you know, hand painted, obviously. So most people, you know, you're trying to avoid brush strokes, but for hand painting, I think that you can use the brush strokes in your favor because after all, it is hand painted and helps with the dimension, like I said. But you can use whatever paint you want to do this. I just like to use the heavy body impasto paints. Okay, so that's her hair. Okay, this is hair. Okay, so we just need to come around here. I got some rogue hairs on my brush and it's going to create some not sharp lines here in a minute. It's going to make me mad. All right, let's fill in our, I'm going to finish filling in our wing shape. Just this front wing for now. Or is this the back wing? This is the back wing. Sorry, I'm having trouble deciphering my own drawings here. Okay, this is the back wing, so we're gonna stop there. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in this little space here with white. Boom, boom. Okay, so then the other wing will come up here and cover that. And okay, got it. So I'm just gonna kind of make a little line right here where that other wing comes in so that I can remember. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our, actually, let me dry this really, really quickly so that we can do, I'm gonna do one more coat of the white. I don't know if you can see, but it's just a little transparent. It needs one more little coat. See how you can see through it? So I'm gonna go ahead and, yes, you can use acrylic paints, paint, you know, you can use pretty much any water-based paint, but make sure it's water-based. We're just gonna dry this real quick so we can do another coat of the white. And then on the second coat, we're gonna blend in a little bit of blue to create some dimension on our wings and interest, you know? Gotta make it interesting. All right, that'll work. So, okay, we're gonna go in one more time with our white and just kind of fill in a second coat where we put our first coat. All right, go. Yeah, you can use any kind of paint basically that's water-based paint. I mean, you can use like the little acrylics out of the, you know, from the craft store or Walmart in the little bottles that are like $1. Those work fine. Some of them can be a little bit watery for my taste, so I don't use those. Plus, I have these, so I don't need to use those. But you could use those if you needed to, or you have some on hand. Most people have those kind of paints on hand. I also can use, I use Dixie Belle for hand painting sometimes. It works just fine for hand painting. So just want to make sure it's water-based. Okay, so there's our back wing, second coat. I don't know if you guys can see like the texture from where you are, but this paint is so thick it lends like a texture to my shape here. So I'm just going to kind of trace my wing with the blue. And lightly, I don't have a whole lot of blue paint on my brush. What it's going to do is just sort of help create difference between both wings since we're doing a silhouette, and add a little bit of dimension to our wings, which will be much needed because when you're doing silhouettes, they look very flat because they're usually a solid color. So silhouettes tend to be flat, and that's okay, but we just want to add a little bit of dimension. So I'm just kind of tracing one edge with my blue. If you want to take your brush that you're using for the white paint and kind of, you know, blend it in with the white paintbrush, you can do that a little bit. Just go along the edge. And that kind of blends in that blue. See how it's just a little bit of a shadow on the edge there with the blue? Okay, so that's the top of our back wing. So now we're going to go ahead and move on and do our front wing. So we're going to go ahead and fill it in just like we did the last, the other one. Okay, come down here, trace our shape so we know what to fill in. And then down here. And let's see, our wing comes down here right to around where her booty is, and it stops right at her booty. And there's her bottom, covered by a dress, of course, but that's her bottom in the air. She's flying, she's Supermaning. Okay, so let's see, we're good. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fill all that in. All that section of wing in with white. And then up here, a little bit more to go. And then we'll dry this and do our second coat with our blue shadowing, and we'll be done with the wings. So, but I don't know how long it's been. I don't know, maybe 10 minutes it's taken us to do the wings so far, probably not even that long. So it doesn't have to be super time consuming process. It can be, depending on how much detail you're doing, but it doesn't have to be super time consuming. And it is fun and it's satisfying. It feels good to hand paint something because you look at it and you're like, man, I did that. I did that all for my own, you know, my hands and a paintbrush. All right, I'm gonna dry this wing real quick and we'll move right along. Okay, we'll move right along to the second coat with shading. All right, let's go ahead and do coat number 2 and shade it and then move along to our body. So let's start up here in the top of her wing, and we're gonna do the same thing we did on the behind wing or the back wing. We're just gonna kind of retrace our shape here. And there we go. Try to keep your edges crisp. Depending on your brush, it can be a little easier depending on which brush you're using, or a little harder. All right, so we're gonna come right down here. Boom, 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 boom. And then down here. Fill her in, fill her in, fill her in. This paint is so thick, but that's why I like it. Some people, you know, maybe you don't like thick paint and you want to use something a little more fluid. That's okay. That's your prerogative. All right, we're almost done filling in this wing. Boom. Boom. Okay, so now we're gonna grab our blue or whatever color you decide you want to shade with. I'm using blue because wings kind of, you know, if they're kind of cloudy-ish. They kind of give off a little bit of a blue tint, so it makes sense. Plus my background color is this kind of country blue, French country blue, so that's what we're gonna go with. All right, so I'm gonna start tracing from the tip of my wing all the way down with the blue. And you can see, or you will start to see how, you know, it differentiates the wings. It separates them out so they're not just one big, you know, blob of white. So that's part of the reason for the shading on the wings. All right, get a little bit more blue. Bring our blue down. Come right in here. Okay, so now that we've got this just kind of outline here, I got to clean up this little edge right there. It's a little not sharp. It's going to drive me nuts. So let's sharpen up our edge here. There we go. All right, cool. There we go. So now we're gonna grab a little bit more white, and we're gonna go through and we're just gonna kind of trace our blue edge to get that to where we can blend some of the blue into the white so it's not such a harsh outline. We don't want that harsh outline per se. Maybe you do, that's your design, that's cool. I like to kind of blend it out a little bit. Okay, just add in a little bit more white. And let's see. So there we go, just kind of trace at it. All right, cool. We need a little bit more blue because it's dried up. We can do that, just get you a little more blue. And add it up. I could probably mist it with water too, but I did not bring my mister bottle over here, so we're just going to keep adding more paint instead of water. Sorry, I think you cut out there for a second. It looked like you cut out. Did you cut out? I'm back. I'm back. Still painting a wing. All right, here we go. Last little swoop here with white to kind of blend that in to the blue. Then I'm going to fill in my body with just straight up black for a nice little fairy silhouette. All right. Almost done. All right, so there is our wings. There's our wings, okay? So now we're just gonna fill in our fairy with all black paint. I'm using impasto paints from Art Alchemy by Prima Marketing. Let's see, I've got the fingers are the kind of smallest detail I have with the black. So I want something angled and fairly stiff. Maybe that, no. I'm not seeing what I want here. Oh, here we go. So a little angled, a little stiff, so that we can get, you know, details like the fingers and stuff like that. So now we're just gonna take our black paint and get some and fill in our fairy. Okay, so here's her head, a little face. I like the small angled brush because you can get, you know, crisp edges easily. Okay, there's her face. chin. And then her little piggy tails that are kind of curling up. Let's see. Her back piggy tail kind of curls up like this. I'm gonna get a little smaller brush, just one smaller brush, and the reason why I want one little smaller brush is so that I can make the little deep, that's not the one I wanted. Where'd you go? There it is. The reason why I want one little smaller brush is so I can make the little curls on the edge of her pigtail kind of more precise. So she's just got a little pigtail curling up right there. Okay, and then there it comes down here. Then her little, let's see, her other pigtail kind of comes over here. Curls up like so. All right, there we go. And okay, so let's go ahead and fill in that pigtail there. And then we'll come down the back of her neck, front of her neck. And I think I want to do maybe one or two little curls on her pigtail here. So it's going to come kind of like that. That. So there's her pigtail, and let's add just a couple of little curls coming off of there. Just little guys like that. Curls, wisps, whatever you want to call it. So let's maybe this one's gonna curl this way. Boop, boop. And let's do one more little curl, kind of coming down here. Or a little wispy. Maybe just a little wispy. Okay, so that's her pigtails flying behind her as she's flying over these flowers. All right, so let's just fill in the rest of her body real quick. Should go pretty quickly since it's just already drawn out. We've already drawn it out. There's her arm. And her chest, coming down her torso. Her torso turns into her little pretty fairy skirt. Which is kind of fluffy. It's a nice little full fluffy skirt. And it comes out like this. Boom. And then let's see. There's the other part of her skirt goes like. Other part of her skirt goes like this. And then the back of her skirt comes up like that. Like she's flying through the air. Oh, ah. So let's see. The back of her skirt is right here. That's her little hiney area. We'll go ahead and fill that in. And then we'll go ahead and bring her skirt up to curl up like the front does a little bit. And then we got one more little kind of triangle right here of her skirt. Okay, so there's her skirt. Let me finish her arm and then we'll do her legs, and then all I have to do is wait for that to dry. And on her little flower, I'll show you, because I'm gonna have to wait for her to dry, but I've got, let's see, I've got some little like kind of wildflowers and things like this from one of my transfers that I can just kind of put that in her hand, and she can be flying through the flower field with her little flower in her hand. So, layering transfers with hand-painted elements, that's what we're doing. That's how you can get a very unique custom, custom look. I always see, I see people ask often, like, how do you, we all have the same transfers to work with. How do you get something that is different or doesn't look like everyone else's? Well, you got to get a little bit creative with it and kind of, what's the word? Edit, I guess. Play chop with your transfers. Okay, so her arm is coming out like this. Sometimes I like to wipe the excess paint off my brush because it starts to kind of loop up and it makes my lines not crisp, or makes my areas a little fatter than I want. So I wiped off my brush, and here we go. We're gonna just make her arm right through here. All right, so there's her little hand, kind of just Superman hand out behind her like that. I'm gonna switch to my little bit smaller brush here so we can get a little bit more precise for her thumb. All right, cool. Oops. Got a little out of line there. You can touch, I'm gonna have to touch that little area up with my white or my vintage duck egg. Maybe not. Maybe she's just got like an elbow there or something. Let's see. All right, so let's see what else. Okay, back to our bigger brush. We've got one arm left and some legs, and then we are all done with our hand-painted fairy. Okay, so now all I got to do is fill in her legs and her feet and plop her little flower that she's carrying right there. We'll give you a little further back look. There's our fairy, at least most of her. So I'm going to do that, finish that up, and then I'm going to go ahead and hop off here though, because you're probably like, oh my gosh, we get it. You're going to paint in her legs. So you get where I'm going with it. Find you an image that you want to use as a reference for your hand-painted element, and just kind of trace the shape, carbon copy the shape, project the shape, do whatever you gotta do, get that shape on there, and then just fill it in. And you can layer your transfers with it. And if I want to, after I paint her legs, I can even do some transfers you know, kind of overlapping your legs, so it's really layered, but I'm not sure yet. It depends on how it turns out. So thanks for hanging out with me while I hand paint and layer transfers and all that fun stuff with the Prima product. So I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday and a good weekend. I'll see you later. Bye.